of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
by the powers vested in me by the United States of America and the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Executive Committee of the Detroit Branch NAACP. Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge Levy. That was absolutely excellent. Now we have a few special tributes that we would like to share with those of you that are here this evening. From our Detroit City Council, we invite for a proclamation from the council. Councilman Vincent, please come.
Thank you very much and good evening. It is an honor and a privilege to be here for this historic, momentous occasion and to honor one of my fellow trustees at the Detroit pension system as well. And so without further ado, on behalf of the appreciative citizens of Detroit and the Detroit City Council, it gives me great pleasure to extend sincere congratulations to you on your re-election as president of the Detroit Branch NAACP. We also extend congratulations to the members of the Executive Committee. This year marks your 12th term and over 2 decades under your leadership as the longest serving president in the history of the Detroit Branch NAACP. With your guidance, the Detroit Branch has continued to be the flagship branch in the national NAACP family. It also hosts the largest and most successful Fight for Freedom Fund dinner of any branch. Through the commitment and tenacity of the Detroit Branch, NAACP members, and others, this event has grown into a premier fundraising gala. We commend your organization's dedication and continue to uphold the mission and vision of the NAACP and its never-ending quest for social justice and equality. While we applaud the strides that have been made in terms of civil and human rights, voting rights, and equal access to economic opportunities for minorities, we recognize that there are a number of challenges ahead, and there is still much work to be done. Again, congratulations on this momentous occasion of the 2015-2016 installation ceremony, and we wish you and the Detroit Branch NAACP much success in all of your future endeavors. Sincerely, Detroit City Council.
Thank you, Councilman Benson. This time it is with pleasure that I invite for remarks our Wayne County Executive, Mr. Warren Evans.
Haven't been around long enough to figure out the proclamation piece, but we'll get to that when we do it. In all seriousness, it's an honor to be here. None of us in elective office, African Americans in elective office, would be here without the NAACP. It's carved the way for all of us. It's set a path for all of us, and I'm extremely proud to be here. I'm extremely proud of our leader, who has been a leader for almost an unprecedented amount of time now, will at the end of this term. So on behalf of the citizens of Wayne County and Wayne County government, we're happy to be here, we're supportive, and let's keep moving the yard markers forward. I'll say that before the Super Bowl. We got to keep going in the right direction. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Before me is a resolution from the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately, Sheriff Napoleon could not be with us this evening, but I will read the resolve clause. Resolve that I, Benny N. Napoleon, Sheriff of Wayne County, and on behalf of the men and women of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, hereby commend Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony on his installation for a 12th term as president of the Detroit Branch NAACP and his tireless leadership in upholding the mission and vision of the NAACP. Signed, Benny N. Napoleon, Wayne County Sheriff, adopted this day, January the 29th. Thank you, Sheriff Napoleon. don't believe Senator Smith has arrived. We may have, I know Ms. Landrum is working her way to feed me more resolutions, but while she does that, it is a pleasure to invite Mr. Harvey Hollins from the Governor's Office for remarks.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Governor Rick Snyder, who sends his regrets for not being able to attend, and a friend of yours, Dennis Muchmore, who would rather be standing here doing this than me. It is my pleasure to congratulate you, express a personal congratulations to you because of the accomplishments that you have done over your lifetime. You've walked with presidents, you've negotiated with kings, and you're a drum major for Jesus, and you preside over the biggest and baddest branch of NAACP in the country. You ought to have some theme music, I don't know. You walk in a room, you just have some theme music. You know, who's the man? This is like with brother man, Reverend Anthony. Yeah, I'm just talking. Anyway, let me read this from the governor. Dear Reverend Anthony, it gives me great pleasure to join you, your family, friends and colleagues in honoring you as you begin an unprecedented 12th term as the Detroit branch NAACP president. You are an excellent example of someone who has devoted himself to serving the people and the communities of Detroit. Detroit branch is the largest chapter of the NAACP and is recognized for its continued commitment and dedication to enriching the lives of Michigan citizens. Under your leadership, the Detroit NAACP has continued to grow and fulfill its mission of providing social justice and equality to those who it serves. On behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, I extend sincere thanks to you for your leadership, dedication, and service. I also acknowledge the recently elected branch officers and executive committee members. I have great hope in Michigan's future, thanks to men and women such as you who work daily to make Michigan a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And again, congratulations, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony. On this momentous occasion, please accept my very best wishes for a memorable and enjoyable evening and event, and continued success in years to come. Sincerely, Rick Snyder, Governor.
We certainly thank Mr. Harvey Hollins, the Director of the Office of Urban Initiatives for the Governor, for being here this evening. Before me is a note from United States Senator, a very personal note, Reverend. It says, Dear Reverend Anthony, congratulations on your re-election as president of the NAACP. 12 great terms and counting. It's an honor and pleasure working with you. Best wishes, signed, Debbie. Now, I've been director about 3 years now, and one of my marching orders when I came on board was that you always write Reverend's remarks for him, so it sounds great tonight. That was our doing. But it's almost like, you know, the skulls and bones of the President's Club, and I am honored to come behind a long legacy of stalwart leaders in the position of executive director. Ms. Joanne Watson, who could not be with us this evening, has had the pleasure of serving under the leadership of Reverend Anthony. But two people who are with us this evening, who's also had that distinct pleasure of serving in the visionary leadership of Reverend Wendell Anthony as executive director, is Mr. John E. Johnson and Mr. Hester Willard. I'm going to invite both of them to come forward.
He said, age before beauty. Good evening to all of you, and certainly pleased and proud to stand before you. Mr. White mentioned earlier that Senator Virgil Smith, was to come before you, but he can't make it. The senators are having a retreat this evening, so he's on his way there, couldn't make it. But he is the newly elected chair of the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus, so we want to congratulate him on that. And fact, I think records will show he may be the first senator to serve in that capacity. I think most of the past chairs have been members of the House of Representatives. But nonetheless, a special tribute was put together for this August occasion from the Legislative Black Caucus, saluting the installation of Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony and the Detroit Executive Committee. Let me read this, if I may. Let it be known that it's with both a pleasure and privilege for the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus to commemorate the installation of Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony for his 12th term as president of the Detroit branch of the NAACP. As the longest-serving president in Detroit branch NAACP history, this milestone is a reflection of determination and commitment of a dynamic leader whose work has been transformational in both domestic and international scope. MLDC applauds the installation of a distinguished executive committee and salutes the president and the entire branch leadership for providing the most expansive programming in the nation. These programs include youth leadership and development, addressing the health disparities facing communities of color, promoting healthy lifestyles, advocacy on issues such as protecting voting rights and providing equal access to economic opportunities for African Americans. Under Reverend Dr. Anthony's leadership, the Detroit branch NAACP has continued to be the flagship of the association. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to commemorate and honor the installation of Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony for his historical 12th term as president of Detroit branch NAACP in the 2015 through 16 Executive Committee. Signed, Virgil K. Smith, State Senator, Chairman, Michigan Legislative Black Caucus.
So it was my honor and pleasure to succeed John Johnson as executive director, and I served from 1999 to 2011, and I believe that the greatness of America is revealed in our right to protest for rights. There's not a long line of folk who want the job that Reverend Wendell Anthony has. People talk about him, but they don't really want that job. Reverend Anthony is a bad brother, and he and I talked about a variety of things about taking the battle to the street. During those years, we did a lot of very, very significant things. We took buses to Washington, D.C. for a shadow inauguration. You guys remember when Bush stole the election? Well, we went there well prepared in protesting. We took 16 buses, and we all had flashing yellow jackets on, and we were the most organized activists to arrive on the scene. And because we were so organized, Al Sharpton put us to work immediately, anointed us marshals. So we wound up having to control that entire demonstration. We formed an anti-predatory lending task force. We brought our AXO, our youth council, we brought all of our young people programs back into the branch. We moved from a 6,000 square foot office on East Grand Boulevard to a 16,000 square foot building on 2nd. We took the game to a higher level. We were going to New York every year for the national board meetings, and Reverend Anthony and I were talking, how can we seize the moment? So we started, every time we'd go to New York, we would meet with the foundations, and every time we'd come from New York, we'd have $250, $350, $500,000 in our pocket because we were taking the game to a higher level. Reverend Anthony is a bad brother. It was my honor to work with a brother like Reverend Anthony for all those years. I don't believe anybody should dwell beneath their privilege. So when they killed Oscar Grant, a lot of this foolishness just started with Emmett Till, but when they did Rodney King in 1992 and Oscar Grant in 2009, then Michael Brown and Eric Garner, and the list goes on and on and on. Y'all got a reason to be mad. Somebody ought to be mad about that. And Reverend Anthony, he's so committed, he is so passionate in his leadership, it's easy to work with a brother like that. So it was my honor and my privilege to work with this brother, and I still carry a picket sign in my trunk. I'm always looking for a protest. I think you ought to be mad about something. So if you don't have a picket sign, you ought to get one, and you ought to get in line behind Reverend Wendell Anthony. Reverend Anthony brought Reverend C.T. Vivian to Detroit, and C.T. Vivian concluded by saying, if we want our children to enjoy all of the benefits of the sunshine, then we should all walk in the light. Wendell Anthony walks in the light. My man. Congratulations.
Thanks, Hester. Hester did take this association along with certainly Reverend Anthony's leadership to an entirely different level. He's the longest serving executive director of the branch's history, 12 years, as a matter of fact. So I think he should be applauded. I have been pleased to be in this with Reverend Anthony, I think since he first took office, and so you remember what happened. They denied him initially, he had to fight in order to even get this in the first place. The election is always held in November. That November they called it off. It had to be rescheduled for February in the cold. Certainly forces working against him, but he prevailed. And so now 22 years later, we celebrate the accomplishments. I have, again, been serving with him, again, pleased to have done that in many capacities over those years, Legal Redress Chair, as Executive Director, as General Counsel, and then for the past eight years as First Vice President. So congratulations to you, Reverend Anthony, for accomplishing the election to an historic 12th term. You have an impressive list of accomplishments, but as they say, the larger the project or job, the less time there is to do it. The job of ending political, social, and economic discrimination is absolutely huge. And unfortunately, 22 years has not been enough for you to accomplish that project. We pray that years 23 and 24 may allow you to complete that job, but certainly there's doubt in that. Because unfortunately, what I've seen since I've been involved with you in this is that things have changed, but things have not changed. We've made some progress, we've taken steps forward, but we've taken many steps back. And we certainly have fought against that every step of the way. But we certainly look at where we are now, we have to wonder where we are going, because certainly the fight is still ongoing, the battle still rages. There's an African proverb: if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Well, quite frankly, Reverend Anthony, you've done both. You've been on your own, and you've done more former than the latter. But through it all, you've had the support of a very powerful, very resourceful, and very wise executive committee that's done its best to follow and execute your vision. We pledge to continue working with you and to maintain this branch's status as the largest and most influential in the nation. But tonight I recall Murphy's second law. It says everything takes longer than you think. 22 years later, we are still fighting to end racial profiling and police brutality, for quality education and voting rights, to end healthcare disparities and employment discrimination, for equal opportunities and self-determination, and far too often, we're fighting each other. But finally, I recall 2 Timothy, 1st chapter, 7th verse. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. So we continue into a 12th term. As my successor, Hester Wheeler, always says, we fight until we win.